Hello and welcome back. This is Candace from Candoodle, and I'm super excited to be hopping along with some friends from our Craft Collabs group for a Mother's Day hop today. And today for our projects, we're utilizing pattern paper because I know a lot of us have quite a stash, so we want to give you some ideas for how to use it. I will be honest and say I almost never use pattern paper in my card making, so this was a challenge for me, but I hope you'll like what I ended up creating. So today, I'm using some 6x6 pattern paper. This is the Chasing Dreamlines from Crate Paper. I've got my Pinkfresh Studio Adore Alpha dies, as well as my Honeybee Stamped Sentiment banners and the Sentiment Strip stamp set from Altenew. So I'm just starting with my pattern paper and I'm picking out two pieces that kind of go together, like they coordinate nicely. And you will see that I do kind of change gears partway through this. I was planning to make two cards and inlay one into the other, but as I went along, I decided to change my mind. So you'll see that partway through. So on my first sheet of paper, which is that really pretty mandala pattern, I am going to start die cutting my letters, and it's going to say Mom because this is going to be a Mother's Day card. So I'm starting off in the center with the O, and I'm just lining it up nice and straight with my T-ruler, and then I'm going to washi tape that down and run it through my die cutting machine. I absolutely love these dies because they don't only cut just the letter, but also a very thin sort of line around it, like a nice outline, which you can do all sorts of techniques with. So I got the M and I cut that out as well, and you can see I line up my T-ruler to make sure I have it at the same height for the other letters. That way it helps me to line it up a bit more. And I always work from the center outward because I find that a bit easier to keep things centered. And here is where I decided to switch gears a little bit. My original plan was to cut Mom from both of the pieces of paper and inlay the opposite into each other and get two cards, but I decided I wanted to keep it kind of consistent in the same pattern, so I just stuck with this piece of paper for now. And so what I'm doing is I'm cutting it down because my square card bases are 5.5 inches and this was a 6-inch piece of paper, and I just kind of cut little bits from each side until I was down to the right size, just to keep everything nice and centered. I didn't want to mess up that pattern at all. And so now I'm coming in with my ATG to put some adhesive on the back of that, and I'm just taking my smaller adhesive runner and making sure that my little pieces between each of the letters also have some adhesive on them as well, so they're not floating off of the card. And so once I have that down on my card base, I am going to do an inlay. And so I took each of my pieces and I'm going to line them up in there just to show you where we're headed. Now you could totally inlay them flat like this, and because the outline it does stand out a bit, but I wanted some more oomph to it. So I actually die cut several times each of the letters, and I ended up stacking 4 110-pound die cut letters behind each of the pattern paper. So it's going to give it some nice lift off the paper. You could also use fun foam to do this, but I like to do stacked paper because I can kind of get the level that I really like. At first I only stacked 3 together and saw how it looked, and I decided to go with 4, so I die cut a few more. You could do as much or as little as you like, but I do think it gives the card a nice bit of dimension that adds to it. So while I'm gluing everything down, I am going to talk a little bit about the hop. So like I said, this is a Craft Collabs hop, and we are super grateful to be sponsored by the Not Too Shabby shop. So Jamie has generously donated 6 packs of their new Dots for Spring 6x6 paper pads for 6 lucky winners. And to be eligible to win, all you have to do is comment across all of the hop. Of course, you're welcome to like and subscribe as well. That really helps us out. So please do leave some love down in the comments so you'll be entered for a chance to win. The Not Too Shabby shop has a new paper line, so be on the lookout for that, as well as tons of new products, including a monthly subscription box in the coming days. So definitely check them out. Jamie is so lovely, and we are so happy to be sponsored by them today. Okay, so back to the card. Here is where we are headed, and I decided I wanted to use those little outline pieces as well to kind of give it a more finished look. And so I'm just putting in the white pieces to see how they look, and you can obviously still see the dimension, and it's more evident in person than it is in video, but I wanted to do a little something extra to make it stand out more. So I had a lot of extra die cuts because I had to cut so many times, so I knew that if this didn't go well, I could still turn back and use a white die cut, but I really like the way this turned out. I just colored that outline with a Copic marker that matched the darkest color within the pattern paper. So this one was an RV19 that I used. And I really like how that looked. It definitely gives it a bit more of a pop, so it's more evident that it says mom there. And so I decided that I was going to stick with this rather than the white to give it more emphasis. And so I just colored the outlines for each of the letters. So both of the M's and then the O, the outside and the inside. And then I am taking those out in the one that I put there to test because now I am going to glue those down. I am using my art glitter glue because that is my glue of choice because it has the very small nozzle on it. So I just find it a bit easier, especially when I'm doing really tiny die cuts, especially like those outlines. But you could use any sort of liquid glue. You could even apply it directly on the card. I just found it was easier to glue the outline directly, so I didn't smear it on my card. And I'm just taking my time to go through that. I kind of like doing this technique because it fits like a puzzle. I believe Jennifer McGuire did a video on this a long time ago called Eclipse die cutting, which I will link to below, and she gives so many different ideas in doing this with fun foam and all sorts of things. And so I am finishing up doing that, and then I am going to get my mini MISTI out to do a sentiment. So these are my honeybee sentiment strips, which I like to just cut a bunch in black and white and just kind of keep them there because I use them on most of my cards and a lot of different sentiments fit on them. So today I'm using a sentiment strip from Altenew. This is their sentiment strip stamp set, and I chose the sentiment that says "You are all kinds of wonderful" because my mom is all kinds of wonderful. So I thought this was appropriate for her, so I just picked a banner that was long enough that it would fit the sentiment on. And then I kind of played around with where I was going to put this. Did I want it on the mom, below, above? I ended up putting it on the mom because it doesn't take away too much from the dimension, and I thought it was a nice kind of look. I really like the way that this turned out. It's definitely different than a lot of the cards that I usually make, but it definitely made me stretch my usual thinking and style. And of course, no card is complete without some gems. So these are just kind of coordinating color ones from little things from Lucy's cards just to add a bit of bling. And there we have it. That is the final card. You'll have to tell me if you like it down below in the comments. And of course, hop along to everybody else in the hop. I'll have the next person linked below. As always, you can always find me over on Instagram at Candoodle Creations. And until then, I will see you in my next video. Bye!